Hello, everyone. Thanks again for joining us for another edition of Facebook Live. We're here at the National Museum of the Pacific War. And today, we have a very special guest joining us to talk about a very special topic to help us celebrate Black History Month. And we often emphasize that it took all of us, all Americans, to emerge victorious at the end of World War II. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about the role of Black service members in World War II. Joining me now is a very special and wonderful historian and a great volunteer. Henry, thanks for being with us here today.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, Black American military personnel played a major part in the Pacific Theater in World War II, and I've prepared some notes that'll help explain some of the things they did. Black soldiers and Marines played a significant role in the Pacific Theater, both as combatants and in support units. The U.S. Army employed black soldiers as construction engineers, building, maintaining, and defending the famous Stilwell Road through Burma, and its quartermaster truck companies were the equivalent of the European theater Red Ball Express. Engineering units built and restored bridges, constructed warehouses, supply depots, airstrips, and barracks while keeping the roads open and secure, not only on the Asian mainland, but among the coral and volcanic Pacific Islands. Black supply personnel took to the air as well. The 341st Quartermaster Truck Company detached some of its men to duty with the 2nd Troop Carrier Command as kickers, those who rode the C-46 and C-47 transport planes and pushed supplies from open doors over troop supply points while pilots dodged enemy anti-aircraft fire. Black support units on the ground often came under fire when in close proximity with Japanese troops. In February 1944, while on duty with the 37th Division and a construction capacity on the Green Islands north of Bougainville, the 24th Infantry Regiment, the latter-day version of the famed U.S. 24th Infantry Buffalo Soldiers of the Indian War campaigns, was placed in active defense against the enemy. While reinforcing the main line of resistance, their position was attacked and 2 black privates were killed, probably the first black U.S. Army infantrymen killed in action by small arms fire in World War II. Black United States Marines kept busy in the Pacific Theater as well. Upon graduating from advanced specialist training at Camp Lejeune, South Carolina, some of the first black Marines were eventually deployed to stations in the Pacific in February of 1944. Of these, 2 battalions of artillery, the 51st and 52nd Defense Battalions, served in overseas base defense in the Marshall Islands and later in the Marianas. Their armament primarily consisted of 155mm howitzers, 75mm pack howitzers, 90mm, 40mm, and 20mm anti-aircraft guns, 50 caliber machine guns, and rifle companies in support. While the defense battalions were largely relegated to rear areas, depot ammunition companies transported and unloaded ordnance in forward areas, often under fire. These units were the ones who received the most battle credits and took the most casualties among black Marines in the Pacific. Men of the Black 8th Field Depot landed on Iwo Jima with the 5th Amphibious Corps on February 19, 1945. In spite of constant enemy shelling, the 8th remained on the job unloading supplies from landing craft and amphibious vehicles. Miraculously, there were no casualties until February 22nd, when 1 officer and 1 corporal were wounded. From that day on, unfortunately, the casualties mounted to staggering proportions. The island was declared secure on March 16th. However, 10 days later, a combined camp of Army and Marine troops was attacked by 300 Japanese. The Black Depot companies were in the thick of the fighting, and 2 members of the Black 36th Marine Depot Company received Bronze Star medals for their, quote, heroic achievement in connection with operations against the enemy. So yes, sir, Jeff, they were there too, and we're real proud of them. Back to you, Jeff.
Oh, thank you, Henry. So there were various roles held by blacks in World War II. some naturally more glamorous than others, but all equally important. Now, I want to take a moment to mention one particular unit that was crucial during the battle for Iwo Jima. That was the 476th Transportation Battalion. Now, on the morning of 19 February 1945, the 476 was attached to the 5th Amphibious Corps of the Marines. And like Henry mentioned, there were several other transportation battalions, but the 476 was specifically assigned to the artillery units of the 4th Marine Division. They used special amphibious vehicles to land the 105 millimeter howitzers ashore. These vehicles were called ducks. That's the vehicle you see behind me with actual members of the 476. Now, as the Japanese guns were pulverizing men and equipment on these landing beaches, the determination of the gun crews and the black duck drivers helped the men claw their way to these firing positions. 29 of the 48 ducks in the unit were either lost to enemy fire or that rough surf in the water. 5 silver stars and 17 bronze stars were awarded to the 476 for their actions during the Battle of Iwo Jima. That concludes our presentation for today. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again on the next Facebook Live.